What's up, guys? Welcome into the Fireside Bears YouTube channel. My name's Usayd. You can follow me on Twitter at Usayd. You can follow Fireside Bears on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at Fireside Bears. Make sure you've commented, liked, and subscribed to everything we're doing here on the YouTube channel, as well as the weekly podcast. I'm back myself this time with another solo interview. Our prospects preview continues. This time, we've got someone who some of you Bears fans are familiar with. Mizzou's very own Mike Maietti in the house. Mike, how you doing today? Thanks so much for jumping on.
No, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. First things first, let's get this out of the way because I was looking at your background. So it's very nice to finally speak to someone from New Jersey because I know you're from, I'm from Teaneck, New Jersey, but I live in Chicago now. I know, yeah, you're like whatever, 30 or 40 minutes from Teaneck, and you went to Rutgers, which runs in my family too because like my two uncles went there, my dad went there too, and then I have like 5 or 6 cousins who probably went there. So yeah,
So
a
you
lot
got some
of
ties
Rutgers
over
going
there
around.
on the banks, huh?
Yeah, absolutely, a lot of
Good.
ties. I mean, I want to say I try to go back every couple of years, but like, yeah, when you get older, life kind of just happens.
No doubt. No doubt.
Anyway, so speaking of going to Rutgers, let's kind of take a step back all the way to high school for a second because you grow up in Jersey on the East Coast, you commit to Rutgers, you kind of decide I'm going to stay home, and then come like May or June of 2020, you decide to transfer to Mizzou. So, what kind of led you to choosing Rutgers right out of high school, and then why'd you decide to transfer to Mizzou?
Rutgers was definitely like a dream school. I mean, growing up in New Jersey and I played for a guy named Mike Teal who was a quarterback at Rutgers, so he only had great things to say about it, and it just felt right playing for the home state.
So then, why'd you kind of go ahead and transfer to Mizzou?
Um, so it was definitely a hard decision to make, but I wanted the chance to compete in a lot of games. We didn't really do that during my time there, and I wanted to hit the portal and see what opportunities were out there. And I'm very happy that Mizzou took a chance on me.
All right, so experiences, I feel like something that comes to mind when people are looking at your resume as they kind of begin to evaluate you as a prospect. So I know between 2017 and 19, I believe you started like 30 something games for the Scarlet Knights. So how do you think that valuable experience early in your career just transitioned over to Mizzou and the SEC?
No, absolutely. I feel like the more games I played and the more experience I had, really helped me slow the game down. I mean, football is a copycat game. Everybody wants to do the same blitz, the same pressure, the same front. And when you have so many snaps under your belt, it really helps you slow the game down and really see what the defense is presenting pre-snap. You know.
Yeah, and I think when you go from playing, obviously we know that the Big Ten and the SEC are the two best college football conferences in the country. So I have to ask you this: what was different about playing in the Big Ten versus the SEC?
Like you said, those are two great conferences. But the difference I seen, I mean, playing center at both conferences, is speed. The SEC just has a lot of speed. Everybody's fast, everybody's strong, everybody's physical. So I mean, it's definitely a different breed of football. And until you actually get to play in it in both conferences, I feel like it pretty much tells itself automatically that the SEC just speed is the difference.
I know it's crazy because you look at, the SEC in terms of some of the defenders that they've kind of cranked out over the last few years. I know you guys this past year, and I don't mean to remind you of kind of what I feel like was a painful loss, but you guys got the opportunity to play against that number one ranked Georgia defense, and so that
Hmm.
certainly I know would have been a crazy experience, but I think it was also a good experience because you guys kind of got the opportunity to, get some like firsthand experience about like what, playing in the NFL could be like in terms of how fast the game is.
No, absolutely. Like you said, I mean, they were ranked number one for a reason. They were all those things that I just listed. That they were strong, they were fast, they were physical, they were well coached. I mean, it was a good football team over there.
All right, so let's kind of talk about the positions you played because I think what happens is, everyone who's ever played football, it's like they play, whatever at recess time and they're playing every position. Then as you kind of get older, you end up playing like more specific positions. I know some guys in high school have played like multiple different positions, like offensive and defensive line, or defensive line and tight end, let's say, or linebacker and tight end. For you, have you always played offensive line, or were there different positions you kind of played throughout high school?
In high school, it was definitely offensive line. I mean, I went to Don Bosco Prep, and we didn't have too many people that went both ways. I feel like we had we probably had a close to a college roster at my high school, so we had a ton of people on the team. But definitely offensive line was my position.
Yeah, it's so weird because like I live in an area here in the western suburbs of Illinois where high school football is certainly king, and you will literally have like 150 kids ready to go between like the freshman and sophomore. I'm sorry, freshman and like varsity teams, and then you go to other places in the same state, and it's just like they struggle to even get 50 kids on. So you have so many two-way players. But I mean, let's talk about how your fit at the next level. Do you see yourself being just a center, or do you think that if you needed to, you could kick out to left guard or right guard?
I could definitely play guard. So in college, I've only played game snaps at center, but throughout practice, I've played guard. I mean, I know I got to be able to play any of the three interior spots. Um, but I love center. I love that position. That's definitely my favorite one and my most comfortable position.
What about center makes it your favorite? Is it just the fact that you're kind of the quarterback of the offensive line?
Absolutely. No, that's what made me fall in love with it. I feel like as a center, you got to see the entire picture, and not only do you have to see it and recognize it, you need to also communicate it, which I had to do, which really made me fall in love with it.
All right. So speaking of the offensive line, what do you think defines great offensive line play?
Um, Grittiness, I believe, um, preparation really makes a big difference as an offensive lineman. And you need a little bit of nasty in you. You got to be able to finish people because by the fourth quarter, nobody wants to keep going as a defensive lineman. You've been getting your butt kicked for a while and getting dumped and blocked till the very end of the whistle. I mean that adds up. That tolls in somebody by the end of the game.
Is there playing offensive line? I mean, how much of a motivation is it for you knowing that, you basically can go out and I guess the easiest way to say it is like beat your, opponents up on every single play?
Yeah, I mean that's one of the best parts about playing offensive line. I mean, you get to hit somebody every single play, and when you have that opportunity to make that pancake block or that big block to spring a big run, that really gets you going.
All right. So are there any players, at the NFL level that you model your game after? Guys that, you looked up to while growing up, or even guys that you right now as a student of the game continue to study?
No, absolutely. Definitely being a Northeast guy, it's got to be Jason Kelsey with the Eagles. I mean, I watch his film all the time. Um, I try to do things similar to the way he does them because of how much success he's had at that level. And he's not the biggest guy in the room, so he definitely shows that you don't have to be to have a lot of success at that level.
So, you mentioned being the biggest guy in the room, but also having success. I think it's interesting because a lot of times when people are evaluating offensive linemen, they certainly look at, things like height and weight. And I know you're right around 6'1", 6'2". So, how have you kind of overcome just not being, the kind of typical height for a center, because some of these guys are coming in at 6'5", 6'6". How have you kind of overcome that?
Honestly, just my work ethic. I mean, I got a chip on my shoulder. I know when people see me, they probably, like you said, I mean, they look for 6'5", 6'6", whatever it is that they are looking for in a number. But I just try to make it hard for them to say that that's a requirement for offensive linemen, just with my
So,
play.
yeah, I think just having work ethic, the more you kind of get out there and stuff, and the more competitive your field gets. And I think it goes for anything. It's like work ethic above all else. But how do you think you've grown just as a player over the last couple seasons? Because when you're in, it's like your first or second year of college, you're kind of just slowing down, letting your feet get wet, getting your feet wet. And then, by the time I feel like you reach your junior or senior season, it's like everything's come together and you're just taking off.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been blessed to play for some really good offensive line coaches. And I've been able to take a little bit from everybody's teaching and kind of mold it into how I play every day, every time I step on the field, you know?
Yeah, so I mean, let's get to talking about the Bears here because we're an outlet that covers the Bears 24/7, 365. But, Chicago's probably going to overhaul the offensive line this offseason. I mean, and, there's a couple guys on Bears Twitter, a couple analysts, some people that have been on this show too that have kind of dropped your name. I know one of my good buddies, Jacob Infante, was one of them because I believe he goes to Mizzou right now. But what should a passionate fan base like Chicago know about you as a player?
That I'm a competitor. Every time I step on the field, I'm going to give my all. I hate losing. Um, and I just love the game. I'm a true student of the game. I just try to get better every day.
That's definitely a perfect mindset to have. So the Bears actually drafted one of your former teammates, Larry Borum, in the fifth round, I believe, last year. And I know Larry was your right tackle for some and right guard,
Yep.
I believe, at Mizzou for some time. So have you talked to Larry at all about or throughout the pre-draft process about just how to go about preparing, just getting general advice, and how about, possibly playing with him in Chicago? Has he talked to you about that at all too?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, I have a really good relationship with Larry. We're probably on the phone once a week. Anything that I could bounce ideas off of him or things that I'm going through, I talk with him, and he's been really good. And I'm very appreciative of his uh, friendship with me and helping me through this process.
Yeah, Larry, honestly, I think the first couple times I spoke to him and the Chicago media got a chance to just hear him speak at Bears camp, you could definitely get the vibe that okay, this is someone who, at Mizzou was definitely a great player, a great leader, an even better person, and then
Absolutely.
you see that translating over. And I think that there's so many up and coming offensive linemen who would love to have someone like Larry on their side.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, he's a great player, of course, but I mean, he's a good dude too, you know,
Mhm.
and that's what's special about Larry Borum.
Yep. So I feel like one of the big things when everyone's accomplishing their dreams is that you always kind of look back at a couple moments and you say, that's definitely something that I would have told my younger self, considering where I'm at in life right now. So, for you, what advice would you give your younger self knowing that you're about to go on to the NFL?
Just continue to work, you know, just put your blinders on and focus on what's in front of you. Don't worry about any outside noise. Don't worry about anything that's going on with other people. Just keep your head down and work.
Yeah, definitely some great advice that I think, everyone kind of needs that reminder sometimes when you reach a certain point. Like, hey, the journey's not finished. Keep working because it's a long road ahead. But what do you think your biggest strength is as a player? And then what do you think, is something that you've always wanted to go ahead and improve on?
Um, so my strength I feel as a player is I'm a pretty good athlete. I feel like uh, I'm able to move pretty well for an offensive lineman, and that pretty much separates me in what I do as a football player. Um, and some of the things I need to work on is, of course, I mean, from starting as in Pee Wee football as an offensive lineman, it's feet, it's hands, and it's hips. You know, every time you, no matter the level, that's what offensive linemen work on. I'm working on that every day. I mean, as a offensive lineman, the difference in 2 inches in your first step is the difference in winning or losing your rep. You know, the play being a success or not all comes down to a few inches in your step or where your hands are. So all that's really important.
Yeah, and I feel like, it's a common theme for all offensive linemen doesn't matter what position you play, whether you're in the interior or one of the tackles on the outside, that when your feet, hands, and hips are all in sync, like everything slows down, you are just playing the game so much better. And you know yourself without anyone having to tell you or turning on the film that in that moment, hey, I'm here, I'm making an impact. So, speaking of making an impact, I mean, what kind of offensive scheme do you see yourself fitting into? Do you think, inside zone, outside zone? What are you thinking?
I do. I think I would probably fit into his own scheme. But again, I've had so many offensive coordinators in college. I feel like I've been able to play in a lot of different systems. So I'm definitely comfortable in any and all systems. But if I had to pick one for you, it would definitely be zone to outside zone scheme.
Zone, yeah, zone to
Yeah.
outside zone. So, as a follow up to that one, I mean, was adjusting to all these different offensive coordinators, was it difficult at first? Because, teams I feel like kind of want continuity, especially at the offensive line, especially when it comes to, the system and the coordinators, whatever is being run. It seems like the coordinators and the teams and the units that are longer together seeming are better over a number of years compared to a team that's just kind of cycling coordinators year in and year out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But as a young college football player, it really helped me understand the game. It helped me understand what all 11 guys had to do. Not only what did the center do on this play and memorize that, I was able to memorize uh, the whole field, instead of just locking in on one thing because it would change.
Certainly, I think a lot of good experience. So let's talk the SEC here for just a second. I mean, who was your favorite team to play and why? And then who was your least favorite team to play?
Oh man, that's that's a good one. I mean, going out to Athens was one heck of an experience. I mean, it was a great college atmosphere. It was everything that you want. The fans, the from top to bottom, it was a good experience to go out there and play. Obviously, we didn't get the result we wanted, but Athens is a special place. And my least favorite place to go, I'm gonna have to give you one from my time at Rutgers. Oh no, you said SEC.
hmm
Okay, in the SEC, probably Kentucky. Kentucky was pretty loud. It was pretty loud over there, and they had like a cat noise or something like that going on every time that they would like do something good. So that wasn't one of my favorite spots to play.
All right. So since Rutgers runs in the family, you kind of brought it up. I have to ask you this now. I mean, what was your most favorite team to play in the Big Ten and then least favorite team?
Um, like I'll go with my least favorite was definitely Penn State. I mean, how they had it set up was so the away team would be like on the concourse of where people would go to like get their hot dogs and sodas and stuff. And the only thing dividing you guys was a tiny fence with the blue tarp in between it. So you seen them like all you'd see is like their shadows and them banging on the tarp. I mean, it was a cool experience, of course. I mean, you feel like almost like you're going into like a fight. You ever seen those like the MMA fight? How you come out of the back and the
hmm
fans are right on top of you. So that was that was definitely an experience at Penn State. My favorite place to play in the Big Ten, um, probably Wisconsin. Probably Wisconsin. They do a good job with their chants and things like that. They all like sing the song and all go like in one motion. So it's a cool place.
Yeah, I mean, I know here living in Illinois, a lot of people absolutely hate the Badgers for some reason, but then I also tell people from an objective perspective, I'm like, you can't really hate on the Badgers because they at least have a good college football program. Illinois has no good college football teams. Hopefully that changes soon. Because I've also got family that has gone to the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. So yeah,
Hmm.
a lot of Big Ten and East Coast ties here, but you go to two different colleges. There's going to be a lot of memories that are made. But if you had to pick just one moment, what would be the most memorable moment of your college career?
It's got to be when we beat Florida in overtime to make us bowl eligible because that was my first bowl game of my college career. So that was definitely a special game for me and a special moment.
So, what was it like going into that game? And then what was it like after the game knowing that you had won?
So it was senior day. You get all like the pregame stuff and family and friends on the field, and it was a good experience. But I was happy that we were able to finish the night off the right way with a win, and it was honestly like a little relief. I mean, I'm such a competitor. I've searched for that bowl game for a while. I mean, it meant a lot to me to be able to do that my senior year and go out uh, in that fashion, able to get to a bowl.
Yeah, and I think to even get to a bowl game is such an accomplishment within itself because it is a really, long and grueling season. And you do have those days and those moments in the season where you're like, damn, I'm tired, but I just have to keep pushing forward because this isn't just about living in the moment. It's about, everything that's going to come. But, throughout high school or college, we all had people and coaches that I felt like had a lasting impact on us. So who's, someone from high school or college, could be a coach, could be even a teacher that had a lasting impact on you?
Um, Probably my first offensive line coach at Rutgers, AJ Blazik. I still have a great relationship with him. He was just a great person, a great coach, and he's definitely a mentor to me and means a lot to me.
Yeah, I mean, those relationships that, athletes have kind of built with coaches, there's always a couple of them that last forever. But last one before we get you out of here, we've done nothing but talk football at this point and, your story. So I have to ask you, what are you like outside of football? What do you do when you're not, pancaking guys during reps?
Um, I mean, I like. I mean, I have a dog. I do a lot with my dog. Uh, my dog is his name's Duke. He's a pit bull. That's my best friend. Anything I could do that I could bring him, I pretty much do. Anytime we can go out on walks, on nice trails, things like that. I definitely try to take that opportunity to take him out.
That's always fun. I mean, I don't have any pets myself at home, but yeah, I got a lot of friends who have a lot of dogs at home. I think one's got like four or five, and I tell them, I'm like, how do you even handle it? But, anyways, before we get you on out of here, because I know you've got a lot of different things lined up, just, tell our listeners where they can kind of follow you on social media and just keep up with your journey over the next couple months.
Absolutely. On Twitter, it's at Mike Maietti 78, and Instagram the same thing at Mike Maietti 78.
So, guys, go ahead and follow Mike. Okay, you already know that if he talks to someone that's already on the Bears, then yeah, it's a really good thing. But Mike, thanks so much for doing this. Keep in touch. We certainly, hope to see you drafted real soon here. And like I said, best of luck. Anything we can do for you, you let us know. All right, you know where to find me. We'd be happy to help in any way we can.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.